I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Sam Steinwinder, and I am on the product marketing team at Motive. I work with our sellers organization, our competitive intelligence team, our demo team. So all of the great demos that you've seen throughout the conference, I will give a shout out to Haley on my team because she's amazing working with our SCs and our product organization. So we have an awesome panel today on fueling your field services business. And so I would love to have our panelists do a quick round of introductions. Let's talk about who you are, your role, and a little bit about your business. So Don, let's start with you.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Don Kelly. I'm the Vice President of Fleet Operations for a company called Heartland. Heartland is one of the larger commercial landscape enterprises in the U.S. We have roughly 13,000 assets nationwide, about just shy of 3,000 trucks. And with the nature of our business, 3,000 trucks really represents almost twice as many drivers that operate the vehicles. So,
Sandra.
I'm Sandra Adat. I'm coming from Toronto, Canada. I'm General Manager for Utilities Fleet for Aecon Utilities. So we take care of anything in the construction space, so anything North America.
Great. My name is Paul Milano. I'm the Vice President of Fleet Services and Procurement for the Davey Tree Expert Company. We maintain around 15,000 assets, 8,000 road vehicles. We're the largest and oldest tree care company in the United States. We've been in business for 145 years.
Wow, amazing.
Proud of that.
Yeah, before we jump in with questions, I want to ask, is everyone in the audience here a current Motive customer? Do we have some prospects who are exploring? How many prospects might we have? Or all customers? Okay.
Good.
Sort of newish? Customer. Okay, cool.
3 weeks in.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
All right. That's awesome. So the
hasn't
reason I
signed?
ask is because all three of our exceptional panelists here are at various stages of fairly new relationships with Motive. And so I personally, also because I work on this at the company, I'm always very intrigued by the trial process, the installation process, and just how that's going. And so it sounds like we have a couple folks who are interested in that as well. So different stages here, but no 5-year customers on this panel. They will get there in 5 years for sure. So I wanted to start asking about telematics in general. So because you're all fairly new here, you've just come off RFPs or pretty detailed competitive evaluations. So I would love to hear sort of what drove you to that moment. What was the moment in your business, the frustration, the opportunity where you said, it's time for us to make a change? So Don, let's start with you.
well, that's a great question. So Heartland is a collection of 23 different operating companies. We operate under individual local brands in every market that we're in, 23 states and roughly 76 cities. For us, we had never really had a comprehensive telematics platform that was used. Fairly traditional within the landscape space. Not a lot of companies use telematics. And we really felt like, through the leadership of our CEO, really felt a civic responsibility in terms of how we treat our community and certainly how we protect our employees that are out there every day. And again, similar to Paul, our vehicles are driven by typically crew leaders, so they're not traditional professional drivers. The truck is a means to an end. It's getting them to their job site. And typically they're going to have 3 or 4 other employees within the cab with them. So it's really not just for the safety of the driver, but also the safety of our employees. That really got us into the project.
Right. One of you? Paul? Go ahead.
Ditto what Don said.
Okay, no.
No, so, operating 8,000 road vehicles in every state in 7 of 11 provinces up in Canada, a lot of iron on the road, right? I mean, I did an analysis here a few years back. Our vehicles circle the globe every 4.5 hours. So you can imagine the amount of liability that's out there. I also work with our insurance group, our internal folks, and we shop our insurance every year. And our insurers are looking at us going, the size of your fleet and what are you doing for driver safety? Well, we put the safest vehicles we can put on the road. Well, that only goes so far, right? We know we're approaching several accidents per day. And what are we doing to mitigate that risk? And we know distracted driving and some of the other things that go on in the vehicles, seatbelts, believe it or not, it just blows me away to this day how many people don't wear their seatbelts. Changing behaviors was really the big thing for us, making sure, because a seatbelt is one of those things, you either put it on or you don't. You don't wake up one day. So having these incidents with people, we really felt like we had to change behavior with our drivers. And that was the motivating factor behind it. And outside the accidents, to Don's point, we keeping our people safe, but more importantly, keeping our community safe in which they live. We drive a lot of big trucks, and a lot of times our people walk away, and that's not the case with the other folks, and you've destroyed lives. So this is a game changer for us, and we're really, really excited about getting into it.
That's excellent.
I think for us being like one of the number one construction companies in Canada, it was really important for us. We started a journey 5 or 6 years ago in telematics, specifically, like everybody else here on the panel, safety is number one. We feel personally responsible for our drivers and the community around us. Our more aha moment was we always talk about vehicles and we talk about driver safety, but because we're in construction, it was important for us to also think about the equipment that we run. So working with a team like this, it's saying, we got to work with somebody who's going to understand our needs as a construction company and expand that knowledge not only with vehicles, but other types of units or equipment that we operate. And we felt that Motive would be with us on that. And this is just as important, and you see accidents all the time with heavy equipment as well.
Yeah, let's talk about the data. So you're getting a lot of data, particularly you two, because you're still implementing and you're going to get so much data. It's going to be amazing. But you're starting to look at data probably differently now, right? Because you have a lot more of it to work with. So can you talk about how the data that you're getting from the telematics system and our platform is helping your operations and maybe even expanding into helping you as a business?
I'll jump in on low-hanging
fruit.
So we always intuitively knew that the nature of our business, we had idle time. And it's because the crews view the vehicle as their home office. So depending on weather conditions, hot or cold, during their lunch break, they'll get in the truck and they'll eat their lunch inside the truck. So we always knew we had an element of that, and we had an expectation or a prediction that number could be as high as 25, 30, 35%. And with telematics, what it provided was the transparency, the visibility to data that we intuitively knew was a problem, but it validated how large the problem was. For us, it was 58% idle time on the vehicles. So as you translate idle time into fuel usage, and then that translates into your ESG initiatives as a company and trying to reduce your carbon footprint, not just reduce your fuel costs, but also, again, to the communities we serve, it really underscored the opportunity that we had as a company to change behavior and attack this idle time, this avoidable idle time. And telematics has certainly provided the platform for them.
That's great.
I think for us too is not only idle's obviously important for our ESG, but also being able to layer in the easeability to work with the system or the infrastructure around the data to allow us to layer it in with other information that we're collecting internally. So we can look at, the financial impacts on our safety metrics, on our ESG. We're looking at productivity measures because anything to do with your equipment aligns with your labor and what you do out in the field. So it's made it really easy for us as we consume more and more information. We can utilize that and build a platform to allow us to use our internal data to align with it as well.
Excellent. Well, there's been a lot of talk today about data, and I think that I'm just going to guess that we're all super excited about our analytics solution that's coming out. Paul, what sort of visions did you have when you were listening to the keynote this morning?
So it's interesting. So I've been with Davey now for 10 years, and one of my first projects coming in was just kind of getting a handle around our maintenance and repair costs for our fleet. And I remember talking to one of our business analysts. She'd been there for 40 years. And I said, Cindy, I'd like to see Q1 2015, all of our vehicles. 3, 4, 5 days go by, I don't hear anything. I said, enough to be pressure on you. But she goes, Paul, I got a CAT script set up to run with SAP. And if anybody knows what that is, that's a big dump.
Big old report.
Big old dump of data. And she goes, I'll have it for you in a day or two. I said, no problem. So I come back from lunch, and I kid you not, there's a stack of paper I actually took a ruler out and measured it. It was 7 inches tall of paper. And I thought to myself, what am I going to do with that, right? I mean, how do you gather any data from that? So going from that manual process to be able to ask a question of your operating system and be able to have the data spit back right out in real time, to me, is going to be a game changer. My department has grown 4 times in size since 2015, and a lot of it is due to the data that we're required to pull in and maintain. So I think this is what this is going to do. It's going to make people a lot more efficient. We've got questions being asked from our operations that we either can't answer or we just don't have the manpower to be able to pull all the data together. And I think the AI is going to be a game changer for us in that data analytics side of it. So super excited.
Yeah, do you guys see specific use cases that you're planning and plotting?
Well, what was shared today was tremendous, and everybody that's not yet implemented is going to be the beneficiary of that. So the platform today, as it stands today, has a tremendous dashboard, tremendous analytic tools that you can drill in and really try to root cause opportunities for improvement. What we had been doing, our company, moving very fast on the AI front, separate from Motive, and has become quite frequent user of ChatGPT and the other AI tools. And what we're actually doing, have been doing now for better part 2 months, is doing the download of the Motive data into a download file and putting that in ChatGPT to generate the analytics that you guys laid out for us this morning. So going forward, we really see from an information management standpoint, analytics, really streamlined data coming to us. And at the end of the day, for us, all of analytics is all about the right information at the right time, and it has to be actionable. And that's the great thing about the data we're pulling out of Motive.
Yeah.
I think similarly for us is, sorry, I'm losing my voice, but similarly for us is the fact that we're pressured to keep our internal resources down. However, our fleet is growing by the hundreds every year, and we need to be able to get out there with the AI products. I know sitting with my colleague, my eyes just lit up and saying, now we can do this in an efficient manner. Similarly with the SAP thing, is we're getting a whole bunch of manual tasks. A lot of fleet groups for us have been traditionally run, so it is paper copies. And compiling that can take days, weeks, hours. So having all these enhancements, and this is what we are hoping for when we signed up as partners, and it coming to fruition so quickly, is just amazing for us. So
excellent. We're so happy to hear that. Let's talk about the other side. So we've talked about data and AI. What about the people? So you guys are managing hundreds, thousands of people. They're in the field. There's safety issues. There's productivity issues. How do you get them to buy in, to be supportive of this technology shift? There's a change management component. There's human nature, which is being recorded, which is just uncomfortable for people. Can you talk through some of the challenges that you've had with your people and maybe some surprises that you've discovered and you're still implementing, but you did do a trial, and so you certainly had a lot of that to experience. So would love, Sandra, do you have some thoughts on that?
Yeah, we were pleasantly surprised when we started our trial. We actually had volunteers. People were excited about it. It's technology. People get excited about technology. So we were lucky enough to have, operators to mechanics to managers say, hey, I'll put my hand up and I'd like to really trial this out. Where we experienced some of the challenges, we are a unionized shop in a lot of aspects of our business. However, with the support from our government and other unions and understanding that it's where you put your policies, we've actually been able to get through that. But it is a collaboration. It is being transparent. It's showing them the product. It's talking about them. And we did a road show throughout our organization, the fleet specifically, to be in front of everybody, be in front from the drivers up to management to explain to them how it works and have them buy in. So we've been fairly lucky to say that people are excited about the new product.
Do you feel that you have to continue those communication? Well, you have people coming and going all the time too, so you're always onboarding. But continuous stakeholder engagement and support, continuous onboarding.
Of course, I think that's important. People are scared about the fact, we got the question, well, are you recording me talking to my girlfriend or my wife? And we said, No, none of us want to hear that on a regular basis. Trust me, nobody
No,
wants to
thank
know
you.
what we're talking about. But so just a reiteration that we're here, it's because of your safety. We're here to get you home. Nobody wants to make a phone call to any family member that you've been in an accident or to a community member that somebody's been hurt due to, us not treating our equipment with the respect that it should be. So we definitely are continuing that engagement, and it will be. And I think that's how you keep programs going, is that you consistently get out there, talk to people, ask for their feedback, adjust, and keep moving forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
For Sandra, sorry. You're based in Ontario.
That's correct, yeah.
So we have operations in Canada now. So we're
Go
bringing it
Canada.
north, But did you mentioned some of the government partnership, et cetera. Did you notice provincially there was different rules around cameras and what the unions thought? Like, how did you navigate through that?
So there's always something with privacy, but we've been pretty much an open book. There was actually trial that happened in BC that kind of put everybody to rest. We're saying, no, this is for your safety. So we haven't had a lot of issues. I do understand from my panel friends now is that it's more strict in the US it is in Canada, but as long as you're aligned and you're associated with your union, the governments haven't been a huge issue for us because they're welcoming this into the industry. So there's a lot of different associations and organizations that we're collaborating together to make sure that this happens. Because our competitors used to be, before you could jump from us being in construction to like we were talking about, is change your shirt, you're going to the next one, but the next one has the cameras too. It might be in cab facing as well. So I don't know if that's, but everybody has it now.
So BC, we've got the majority of our folks in BC. You're saying there's some case law or some adjudication that is good for.
Yeah, and I can share that with you after.
Yeah.
I think it was with Lafarge, if I'm correct, Greg. But there is some case law that actually quietens everyone down, saying, here you go.
That's great.
Nice.
How about you with the?
so we took
managing people?
a very pragmatic approach, and in the spirit of you don't know what you don't know, and this was a new venture for us. Fortunately, Motive has some pretty good coaching on here's the proven way, best practice, if you will, on how to roll this out. We took the approach of spending an awful lot of time with our front level leadership on the why component, not just the how and when and what, but an awful lot of time trying to explain why this was important, and it's a big part of, again, our ESG initiative and being a good corporate citizen. So we kind of got through those first few meetings, and then because we're rolling it out nationwide, then we're simply identifying the gaps that we had in the initial training, closing those gaps, learn from best practice on the last implementation, and it actually moves very, 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 very seamlessly now relative to just a rollout.
Yeah, great. Did you see anything during your trial? or in
Absolutely. So, prior to us even starting a demo, we knew cameras were coming within our company, and our president and CEO and chairman of the board is our champion for our company. We have 12,000 employees. He was the one out in front during the town hall meetings talking about cameras. They're coming. We didn't know whose cameras they were, but at the end of the day, we had cameras coming. We just knew we had to get to that point. But the acceptance from the drivers, we had 100 trucks wired up head-to-head with Motive and another company based out of Silicon Valley.
Starts with an S.
Starts with an S.
Saying.
And it's interesting now, Motive product worked much better. But with that being said, our drivers, the acceptance from our drivers is so much better now. Those drivers that started back in July during that pilot period, now they just get in the trucks and drive them, right? And I'm sure a lot of you are seeing the same thing. And I love the fact that, with Xylem and possibly the Orange guys, we don't mention their names, but most of them know who they are. They're talking about wiring up trucks. It's awesome for the industry because, to Sandra's point, we have utility contracts. And if you're working for the utility company and you lose the contract, the next provider comes in, people don't move. They just put on a competitor shirt, right? So having that is going to be gaining acceptance in our industry, I think is a game changer for us.
And you touched on coaching. Obviously, we announced some new coaching solutions today, but are there some techniques that you'd like to share with the group here about your coaching approach?
I will weigh in on that because that is probably the largest pain point that we had through the implementation process. So there's so much data and so many employees that have to receive if you don't do the coaching and give them the feedback, then you lose the value of the data, the information that comes to you. So that has been probably the most challenging thing for us, was getting the supervisors on board with a routine, a cadence, if you will, that I'm going to sit down and meet with the employee and talk about what happened last week or the events that surfaced and so on. The exciting part is the AI component that is being rolled out on the coaching side really lifts that burden tremendously on our frontline leadership in terms of having to do that sort of monitoring and coaching along the way. So we're real excited about that.
Excellent. You have coaching ideas you
Well,
want to share?
we haven't gone into, it was very difficult. We did the regular cadence of calls with all of our organization, but you can imagine how many individuals you have to reach and really understand, get to the point where people understand what they're doing wrong, as opposed to just getting slapped on the wrist. So with the camera and the AI that we've been available to us, I know personally, being coached by it was phenomenal. I didn't even realize half the behaviors that I've picked up over, the 20-something years that I've been driving. But we felt that it's going to enhance us and take away from all those hours that we've been doing previously. So we haven't got really into the coaching using the app itself, but through the trial, we've seen the huge benefits to it, and really, it's actually changed my behaviors as a driver. So
That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, and I loved Coach Sark yesterday talking about the drivers or athletes who want to be coached, right? Those are the ones that we need to pay attention to because they want to be real high performers.
Right. Great
And
point.
the solution is designed to support those who are uncomfortable and those who are asking
Yeah,
for
and
it.
Sam, there's an element of discipline, and I know
Big
Coach talked
topic
about that
yesterday.
yesterday, but there are some elements, safety events, if you will, that are not, it doesn't require a lot of coaching. You have to wear a seatbelt, okay? That's the law.
A number
So
one.
shouldn't have to coach a lot about that other than raise awareness, the fact that we know that you're not wearing a seatbelt. Cell phone usage, we all make fun of the screenagers, or if you have children.
I have not heard that term, and I have two of them. I'm going to say that 100 times this week.
I was literally shocked at the level of cell phone usage with our employees, and it's, again, traditional driver in a truck by themselves, last mile delivery, whatever. It's them. It's their responsibility. It's their individual they're putting at risk. In our trucks, it's the driver plus 3 or 4 other crew members that person is putting at risk when he's looking at his phone. And because it's captured, it's very coachable and it's very apparent. But some of those things, to me, is sort of low-hanging fruit. It's more communication, and now we know. You don't know what you don't know. We know now that we have a cell phone usage issue.
So I wanted to ask about, again, it doesn't have to be about motive, certainly, but as these are your peers in the audience. You are experts in your field for sure. What's coming down the line for your business and field services that is exciting, concerning? Like, what does the future look like that has you spending your time, whether it's you need to implement some new systems or you're excited about what you have ahead of you?
I'm going to let Paul go because I'm going to steal his ideas.
Okay, I know. Same industry over here.
Oh,
so.
I know. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of the AI, the new technology. When you looked at that roadmap this morning and you saw all those new features coming, I think it's going to open up a whole new area. We have our core, like every company has their core group of risk items, right? Distraction, cell phone, close following, speed, and so forth. But I think it's just some of that technology and how it's implemented. It's just going to bring a whole new awareness to what we don't know happens in our vehicles. It was pretty crazy during the pilot period. It was against the advice of our legal department. We didn't turn on we weren't coaching for the first 30 days, just to let them kind of get a baseline. Mm-hmm. And it was absolutely mind-blowing what we didn't know. And I'm
Terrifying.
sure everybody went through it. Like, oh my gosh, we got an issue. And after the pilot, the in-cab coaching, just real quick, I think our close following went from one event every 261 miles, Zach probably knows on the top of his head here, to one every 15,000 miles for a close following event. So I just think, what's coming is, I think, the evolution. I know when we started with 16 telematics providers, went to 8 to 2. They all told us coming to the plate now is the best time it's ever been, because 5 years ago, it was a completely different animal. And I know what we have today, with the way it's morphing and the way the in-the-cab updates and so forth, I can only imagine what's coming in the next 5 years, what we're going to be able to extract in the different facets of our business. We're in drones, we're on trains, I mean, everything but planes. So it's just pretty amazing how we're going to implement this and what's coming. That's, to me, is the most exciting piece of it all, and learning just a little bit about the AI and some of the advanced features coming.
And growing with you. I mean, we heard that today too with some of the fireside chats. Like, we need this from you, right? We need to hear this from you. We want to co-develop with you. Like, this is the way our business was developed, and so it's exciting to do that together. Yeah. How about you, Sandra? When you look forward?
Well, I'm pretty excited. Well, I'm really excited because our business is, we've been traditionally in Canada, and but we've been moving across the border more, and we obviously want to go globally with construction. That's just not just moving our people, but it's the ability to be able to move our equipment, our units, and making sure that they're going to be as safe in different areas, and we still have that visibility to be able to support our, our drivers, our operators, and our community. So it's exciting to see all the AI features, and you're right, 5 years ago, it was totally different. We could find our vehicle if it was stolen, and that was
advanced technology.
Advanced. We were all excited. We're like, yay, we found it. But it's really going to help us logistically, and just to keep a hold of our assets. Our asset profile is large, so it gives us that flexibility to do cross-border globally.
Excellent. That's great. Don?
Our industry is, much like Paul's, our industry is, in the old days only going about 6 months back. In the old days, once the crew left the property, it was sort of like the moon shot and they went on the dark side of the moon. You wouldn't see them or hear from them until they came back. And you wouldn't know how productive they were. You don't know how long they were at a property. It was simply, they're gone, they come back. Telematics, the platform, really provides visibility now where we can manage, from an asset management standpoint and a crew productivity standpoint, what's happening while they're out on the route. And for the landscape industry nationwide, there is a new evolving space in autonomous mowers, leveraging electric vehicles as well as autonomous mowers to reduce the number of crew people required on a commercial lot to be able to care for that property. So for us, it's this evolution of robotics and autonomous mowers and electric vehicles coupled with the telematics space that sort of changes the game really for the commercial landscape business.
Yeah, and the equipment monitoring side of our business too is just really getting moving. So hopefully we can help with that, because it is important to know where your equipment is and if it's being utilized and not going around the side of the moon, as you say.
That's a great point that Don brought up, the autonomous mower side, because we're looking into them similarly to most commercial landscape companies. But to see 4 60-inch zero-turn mowers just running in a field with nobody on them, it's pretty amazing, yes. Right? So having cameras, having the data, you step in front of them, they stop until the obstruction's removed, they don't move. But there's going to be incidents. There's going to be things we're going to run over inadvertently, but that's a whole new space that I think that's going to play a big piece of it.
It's the simplest things, Paul, like where's your equipment? Right. So for us, mowers and heavy equipment, skid steer tractors and front-end loaders and so on. And because they're all individual operating companies, they all think they know what they need for that particular season. But having visibility now with the tracking devices that we're using with Motive, we know the actual utilization of each of these particular pieces of equipment. And with that, we can reduce our CapEx spend each year in terms of buying new equipment, because we can reallocate those resources where there's a need. We can shift the assets where it's most useful. So tremendous long-term gain, I think, on tracking the assets.
Great.
Absolutely.
So I think we should open it up to questions. We have 2 mics, and we like those because the session's recorded, so we would love to hear your question. If you're shy about coming up, I will repeat your question. So who has a question for our panelists? Yeah. Come on up. Come on up. Don't be shy.
Oh, I'm not.
Yeah, you're
Good
not shy.
afternoon, everybody. My name's Chris. I'm from Rancho Tree Service, so
Okay.
similar to the utility space that you guys are in as well, vegetation management. Mainly for Paul, I guess. You ever come across, or is it ever challenging to try to get the utility companies access into your software, into your portals?
Yeah.
And sometimes them wondering, well, you must be hiding something because you're too safe, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. This came up several years ago where a utility company, one of our largest clients, utility company is Pacific Gas and Electric. If you don't know who PG&E is, they're a monstrosity, and they're a whole entity within themselves. And they required our vehicles to have telematics on, not cameras, but telematics. And we really had no issues giving them access to our system to see because we had nothing to hide.
Correct.
Secondarily, fire is a huge risk in California. We all seen the fires. So being able to mobilize the equipment, not only through Davy being able to mobilize our equipment, but PG&E knew which assets were in the area, and they were kind of telling us where we need to go. These are the trucks you need to send. So we're seeing more and more of that with utility companies. Some are mandating it,
Yeah.
but a lot of them, and I think that's going to be a game changer for our industry, especially when it comes to having that visibility, giving them the opportunity to know where our vehicles are, because, a lot of it's time and material. And, it's not just X amount of miles, it's time and material. So you're billing them for your time. If you've got 10 trucks that are hiding at 2:00 in the afternoon, they're going to know about it. But that just creates more accountability from us, on ourselves and our people.
Yeah, I think, and the reason I ask is because a lot of the times they're wondering, well, why are they here and not over there? Not really understanding the complexity of, well, every general foreman has to play more than one role. Not only is he
Right.
supervising his crew, he's also the customer coordinator, he's also, the pre-inspector,
Right.
Wearing all these different hats. And it becomes a challenge because I feel like we're having to defend more of what we're, paid to do, but reality is like, hey, but we're still safe when we're doing it. We have nothing to hide. But
That's
I think
correct.
they just fully haven't understood, and I always ask the utility companies, well, who's your telematics provider? And a lot of the times they'll tell you, well, we use, Geotab or Verizon Connect, which, the people that do have motive will know that's super far behind, right? So them not really understanding, I think, has become the challenge for us, in
Yeah.
California especially.
California, we operate through the entire state of California, but we're not seeing, and I'm not in that side, the operation side, but I don't believe they're telling us where, why aren't your people here and why are they here? I mean, that's kind of left up to us. But
Yeah,
to your point, it creates a lot of visibility on both sides. But I can tell you, when PG&E asked us to do this 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of talk within our legal and everything else. Is this something we need to do or want to do, right? But
Yeah.
they spend a lot of money.
I was appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
Thank
Good
you.
question.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any more questions? Come on up. I'll just stick it
Hi,
here.
Tyrell from Standard Heating, Cooling, and Insulating, upstate New York. We have a lot of ancillary equipment. I was directed to ask this question in this panel, asked it yesterday, but so we have a lot of other equipment that accompanies our fleet. So, generators, insulation machines. Are you using any of the other monitoring devices on any of your equipment outside of the trucks, and how is that working out?
We are. So we use, like you, we have a lot of heavy equipment, skid steers, heavy duty mowers that we have tracking devices on. I think it's the Gateway
Mini.
Mini, or whatever.
Yeah.
But we use that to track those assets. Yeah.
And as far as like keeping up with hours of usage for like generators, skid steers for maintenance, that works out pretty well.
It does. So what we found we have to do is on the equipment that is already in place, we have to enter the hour meter data, and then it simply tracks from that point forward. So if our PM cycle is every 300 hours, then we'll get an alert at that time. But yeah,
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
Thanks for the question. Anyone else? Keep it coming. We have time.
Abdul, also from Standard Heating, Cooling, and Insulating. We just signed with Motive about 3 weeks ago. As part of the solution, we were really interested in and are interested in integrating it across our different various platforms that we're using, such as our ERP. If you guys have integrated Motive and the data into your other supportive platforms, if you guys could maybe speak to that a little bit. And if you haven't, are you guys thinking about that?
So I haven't. We are thinking about it. I think with the gateway, it's going to make it a lot easier for us. That was one of our motivating factors to move over and partner with Motive. Data is very important. We did the integration with another company previously, and it worked well. However, we think there's going to be an easeability with the gateway that will allow us to get even stronger information for what we're doing. So we haven't done it yet. We're right in the process, but that was, I would say, one of our number one factors why we moved over.
Yeah, just to answer your question, we have not. We will consider it at some point, but we're still in the process of getting our stuff wired up.
I have good news, we have.
Dawn.
So we
Dawn
have-
for the close.
we have a fleet management system that both systems speak to each other. And so we use it on scheduling maintenance and vice versa, tracking where the assets are to call them in for maintenance. So those have worked really, really well. And we found pretty much any of the major platforms already have the API that's already set up. So yeah, it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Safe to say, when you say fleet management, is it a named one that we would know?
Well, they're a sponsor here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a company called Fleet Rock. They're based out of Pennsylvania. So yeah, we put them in service back in October. So yeah.
That's a great point too. Our partners, so this one on integrations, talk to them because they'll talk about how they integrate with Motive and the types of customer examples they can share with you. So thank you for that.
Great point.
Okay, if you guys don't have any more questions, we have another question. Beth.
I'm a Motive employee, but I want to know.
Come on to the microphone.
So thank you. I guess this is for all three of you, but Sandra and Paul, you spoke to this. So I'm just wondering for some of the people in the room who are considering rolling out new technology or safety technology, can you speak to the value of having those hands-on experiences with your operators and drivers, just doing the tour and having people come look at the truck? Does that really make a difference in how they accept the technology? And just talk about that if you would. Thank you.
For us, it had a huge value. I think it takes away some of the bias that might be out there. For us, it also taught our fleet team different concerns and apprehensions which we are able to talk through. Just being able for them to understand how big the hardware is was a big deal. They said, "Is it going to obstruct us when we drive, or where is it going to be placed? Are we going to see wires everywhere?" Because some of our operators, quite honestly, feel like their truck is their office, so they want everything nice and clean and left in the way that they've always driven it. So it was tremendous. We've tried to do the visual and virtual kind of conversations. The engagement's a little bit less. People are distracted by other things that are going around, but we felt if we came as a presence and they understood us, that it would be a lot easier for them. And it turned out really well because I think there's been better engagement since we started the installation. It brought value to us as a fleet group, as well as we got to know our colleagues and really understand their concerns. So definitely value to get out there.
Great.
Yeah, so, in terms of we're getting ready to wire up, but from an awareness standpoint through the pilot period, my group has spent a lot of time going out into the field meeting with operations managers. Derek, my fleet operations manager, and I, we've crisscrossed the country talking to folks. And I will tell you, the initial meetings we had back in the late December, it was a lot of group just with a lot of deer in the headlights look, and they're like, what are we getting ourselves into? and I will tell you, the meetings now that we're having, because the word has gotten out, we've been talking about it now for coming up on a year, it's more of like, wow, we can't wait to have this technology installed. We are super excited. We know the impact it's going to have. And I think the biggest thing is from us is knowing what it does and what it doesn't do. In terms of the frequently asked questions and so forth. But the awareness, we're very blessed to have a great president and CEO that has really kind of championed this whole process, because there's not too many people that are going to go head to head with our president and CEO, right? Just for longevity purposes, but
Career limiting
career.
conversations.
But just that driving force down, it's just, but the awareness has got to be key. I mean, they just to understand exactly what it does and doesn't do. That's the biggest thing. I walked into a group of, I thought I was talking to 10 people, and I walked into a group and there were 60 people there. And I thought, oh my gosh. And then I realized it's all the way down to the lowest level in our Denver operations. And I thought, I'm going to have my work cut out for me. I'm going to get some really goofy looks. And at the end of the presentation, I was just blown away how everybody accepted. It was so accepted of the product and what it can do once they understood why the company is doing this. Because we talk about keeping our people safe, we talk about our communities, but at the end of the day, the biggest question we get is, why are we doing this? And when you can kind of exude that to them and give them why you're doing this, it's pretty hard to argue with. And then you start showing videos and data of some of the stuff that we saw. It's just mind-blowing. There's not too many people that can argue with it.
Sounds like the learning curve is not as high as a lot of people assume, right? There, you go in, I've heard this from so many companies that it just sounds like it's going to be a big sell and the drivers and workers are going to be resistant. But what I'm hearing is they maybe start that way, but it doesn't take long.
Yeah, Sam, I think there's an acceptance now, primarily, the growth of the space, the telemarketing or telematics space, where most commercial fleets, it's understood that you will at a point in time, they're going to have cameras, going to have telematics. It's just a corporate responsibility thing. And so I think we're pushing on a little bit more of an open door than we were if we were doing it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It's because it's expanding so rapidly.
Yeah. Well, I have 3 things to say.
You got a question, right?
Oh, we have a question. Oh, come on up. Yes, the answer is yes. Please come on up.
Employee motive. Name's Kevin. The question's for all 3 of you, actually. I would imagine that it's a varied sort of experience within your respective companies in terms of how you onboarded technology like this. Who was an unexpected partner for you in bringing this across the line within your organization, if that occurred at all? I'm just curious.
An unexpected partner.
Maybe someone who was resistant, but not a driver.
Well, I will tell you, we had some folks in our middle to upper management that I knew they didn't come to me directly, but I heard through the grapevine they're just totally against this. And I've sat in meetings with them now, and now they're totally on board. So you're going to have your let's just face it, it's not all, pixie dust and unicorns.
Sunshine.
You're going to have people within the organization that are going to be resistant. But I think, to my point earlier, once they understand the why and understand as a company the vulnerability that we have, it's just, I watched people, those specific people, I always keyed in on them, and it was amazing. Initially, I mean, they were dead set against it. I knew they were. I just heard through the grapevine. And now it's like one of those things they're telling me, you know what, we can't get this fast enough. So you're going to have that. But I think a lot of it comes down to the communication, starting the communications early and letting people know and letting it get out there. And a lot of it's just anxiety. People just really don't understand what we're doing. I mean, I hear, to this day, we're going to listen to audio? We said no audio from day one, but there's still people that don't get the message. So you've got to just keep reiterating that communication and getting in front of people, making them understand.
We had a little bit of a unique environment for us in the landscape industry in that the large share of our employees are Hispanic and don't speak really good English, some not at all, including the folks that are driving the vehicles. And one of the value points is having the camera there to mitigate or exonerate a driver that made a mistake
point.
or didn't make a mistake but was involved in an accident. And typically in that environment, when the police show up, because the driver doesn't speak English very well, he or she is at a serious disadvantage. But being able to communicate with that video to the police officer, here's what actually happened. He's having a hard time telling you, but here's what actually happened. And it immediately changes things. So, and I think the employees, I think they all acknowledge that, recognize that, even though we kind of sell it hard to begin with. I think it's a major compelling event for driver acceptance.
That's great.
I was going to say for me, this might be very unexpected. When we were just starting our telematics journey, it was actually our IS team. They didn't really understand why you would have this kind of information. Why would you need it? They said so. But through education, through our ops groups, and getting them out there and trying to relate data for their vision of data and for operations vision of data, we actually took them out in the field with us and we showed them how our vehicles work. They're on board. They're excited about it. AI scares people sometimes, but for us, the challenge part where we wanted to push data forward, and it was our IS team that was a little bit hesitant, but now they're fully and they
Now
want to
they're
run
loving
with us.
it.
Yeah, now they want to run.
Look at all the
There was a
numbers.
question down here.
Another question, yeah. Oh, here. Thanks.
Hi, Ward Thomas, TSI out of California. One thing for you, Sam.
Yeah.
Is there an FAQ, the general FAQ that anybody here could pull down and just start answering those questions internally with their folks? Like, is there a pre-built FAQ someplace?
Well, we have a help center in the product. So you're a customer? Or-
Trial right now.
Trial, okay, well, we have a help center in the product that you should have access to. Your account rep is always your favorite person, your best friend. And then we have different documents we can send you that is FAQ. Yeah. Is
I
there
just think in
something-
general, it sounds like everybody's doing FAQs here. Why reinvent the wheel if it's already built?
There is an FAQ.
Cool.
We have lots of assets for FAQs. If you need a full one, we can have that sent to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Good.
And then for the panelists, insurance savings. Did you see X% insurance savings on any of this just by having the dash cam and or the telematics, or?
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I can speak because I work with our insurance and our risk group. They're looking at us now saying, you're going to tell you get a 10% discount on your insurance. That's not what they're saying. But when they look at our self-insured retention, because most people in this room are probably self-insured, that's going to play a big factor in it in terms of having these safety systems, driver safety systems. They're not giving us a specific discount, but they're wanting to know what are we doing, and if not, why don't we have this technology because it's available. So that's going to be kind of a soft cost.
Yeah, I would add to that. So it was a big part of our ROIC in determining how expensive this venture would be for us, and disappointed initially that the insurance broker is basically saying, hey, look, this is going to keep your rate from going up,
Right.
not bringing it down. That said, the statistics they showed this morning, 80% reduction in accidents. The insurance companies all say, your savings are going to come through the reduction in accidents.
Yeah.
So it comes after you implement, not before you implement.
Yeah, great
Yeah.
point.
And let me have your card, and then we'll get you the FAQ.
I'll talk to Joe, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, talk to Joe. So first of all, 3 things, but this panel is amazing. So let's give it up for them. Thank you both.